Welcome back to another episode of Wisdom Rising. I'm your host, Christine Renee, and today I'm joined with Chantel Ochoa as we dive into this week's episode, our Whispers of Wisdom, if you will. When I first began by sharing about a personal spiritual journey into the lower world to emphasize and to learn about energetic attachments and how to understand energy in a new way, which then highlights how energy is best moved vertically rather than horizontally, as horizontal energy can become into energetic attachments, and how our energies can be fortified on our own and really hold our energy within instead of creating energetic attachments to draw energy from others. So this then leads into further deeper conversations on practical practices and understanding how to move energies from your root to the cosmos and really create a powerful energetic awareness through many stories that we share along the way. Knowing also that I have a 5-week masterclass called She Who Rises starting here. We just pushed it out by 1 week. So we now are starting on Tuesdays, January 13th, where we are going on this 5-week tantric journey to feminine awakening to really understand their divine feminine essence and power. And so I'm very looking forward to offering that for the women's space, knowing too that we have more beautiful master classes coming for co-gendered spaces, and not to forget that we also have our conscious grievers group through the veil starting here second and fourth Monday of every month, as well as our intensive facilitator training called the Art of Holding Space starting January 18th. We look forward to supporting you, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Wisdom Rising. Welcome, everyone, to our Whispers of Wisdom. I'm joined with Chantel Ochoa for today's call, and I'm kind of throwing Chantel into the deep end because I didn't really give her a heads up on too much of what we were talking about. I was like, I want to talk about my new upcoming course on She Who Rises, and so she gets on this morning. She's like, so we talking about sex today? I'm like, yeah, kind of.
How energy moves.
Yeah.
How it moves through. Yeah.
And that's really what I wanted to focus on is like, how does energy move through the body? How can we direct it? How does it feel to move energy through the body? And yes, I do want to talk about She Who Rises, my upcoming 5-week masterclass for women for an introduction to Tantra for the ladies. So welcome, everyone. I'm excited to jump in. Ever since Christmas was so freaking good for me, I have to start. If you've been following me along with my journey through the holidays, because that's what the last few Whispers of Wisdom and podcast have had tidbits on. It turned out to be amazing. The Christmas holiday felt like such a blessing. It felt so aligned. It felt so expansive. It felt really good. I felt really nourished and really seen and validated and all of the things. And then it was like, it was over. It was kind of like when you come home from a vacation and you're like, have to face like real everyday life. That's kind of what it's felt like since, like, oh,
It's over.
it's over. I gotta like clean my house.
All the hesitance that you felt, like the resistance from past, and now you're like, woo, look at that. Now you can
Yeah,
look forward to all your future Christmas and holidays. Deep healing in that.
there was. And then it was also a time in transition of I I got like to spend nearly 3 weeks with my boyfriend without because my daughter wasn't with me, and that's really abnormal to go 3 weeks. And then now we're in the phase where he's sleeping at his house and I'm sleeping at my house, and I'm just like, ah, like that was so nice to like we were living together, like we were really like in that groove. And now I'm being mom and I've got my kids and really kind of was in this place of like missing him, which is it felt kind of silly. I felt kind of girlish. I felt kind of like the needy girlfriend going, but I miss you. And I'm like, I just saw him for 3 weeks straight. you know?
Yeah.
And
It's like you're playing house for a little bit, like testing the waters. And then when they leave, you do miss them. Yeah. You get used to it.
like that with Christmas, I was just kind of like, oh. Well, I was kind of feeling into that last night of like, I need to get out of this like poor me or like needy girly energy. Like that's not who I am. That's not my totality. I knew it was something within me, whether it was my inner teen coming out or whatever it was. So I ended up doing a journey last night. And that's why I was excited really to come on this morning, was to share about my journey, because I went into a journey to my lower world. I was like, okay, what's my intention? My intention is to learn, like understand my energy of how can I rise to my full divine feminine self? How can I rise and be okay in my own energy without feeling this neediness, like all of those types of things. And so I journey to the lower world and I meet my power animal, who then brings me to their cave and they step on me. They step on my chest, like, and push hard. Like I could feel the weight, I could feel the pressure until they like pushed me through the floor of the lower world and pushed me down until I was falling. I was falling through kind of like Alice in Wonderland, where you're falling through this tunnel, this tube. And I had like this net show up of roots that caught me, kind of like a trampoline, or something where it was a netting of roots. And then I felt secure for a moment, and then it fell again. I broke through it and fell all the way to the bottom of this earth and just landed in this, in the darkness of it all, right? And I kind of was feeling in my energy, and I'm like, what was that about? Like, what does that symbolize? This falling, this dropping, this really dropping into my root chakra. And that's what it felt like. Like I've been in so much my heart chakra energy that I needed to fall all the way to my root, like beyond all of the roots, like the deepest, juiciest, grounded place I could be was that in the earth, in the earth, in the earth, in the earth energy of my root chakra. And there I just sat, and I had a guide come and was like, your energy has been moving from your heart space really beautifully, like moving out and stretching out from your heart. But that's for you, you need to be moving it vertically, not horizontally. And what I
That
was,
makes sense.
right? And when you move it horizontally, those are energetic attachments. Those are energetic cords, right?
Yeah.
Is
So you're attaching yourself. Yep.
right. And so but what she was telling me, breathe up from your root and then overflow, right?
Mm.
If we move our energy through the chakras and over out in abundance into your energetic fields, you fortified your field, and then you're not in an attachment, you're in an energy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great message, and it's a great reminder for us as we are working with our energy. How are we bringing it? Are we bringing it up and down, or are we spreading it out, right? And then, because if you go outwards, it does have to find a spot to go, because we're not grounding it and we're not connecting above, outside, and we're not doing that energy of abundance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling? How did your journey end?
Oh no, I think I fell
Uh,
asleep at some point. I might still be in my root chakra, who knows? I think really it was this recognition that not only do I have my power animal supporting me and like really showing me where I needed to be and where I've been, and that I have a teacher guide. That's really who this guide felt like, a teacher guide who's there for me to give me these whispers of wisdom, right? And
mhm.
that I need to be doing my own journey work so that I can understand all of the resources that I've been collecting over the last few years. Like I've spent so much of my time studying tantra and priestess work and the history of it all and all of these things that I'm really like juicy into and doing the practices. And it always comes back to this vertical line energy, whether you look at it from the energetic standpoint of yoga, where it's like you have your chakra centers and you have these two energy lines that move up the energy. You have a feminine and masculine energy line, that the Ida and Pingala is what they call it, up the Sushumna energy, right? Or you take the same exact information and you put it in a different lens, and I hear it again the same exact way. It's always this similar thing, and all the symbolism and all of these things. So it's like I have this guide that's showing up to go, notice this, notice this. They're all the same message. They're all the same learnings. And it doesn't matter what language you use, it's how are you applying it, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like
I
how,
also, real quick, I also am like getting the messages of it's you grounding your love, right? And creating a really strong foundation for yourself. So you
yes,
don't have to feel that neediness because you have the love for him, but you have that love for you. And as you're pulling it downward, you're connecting yourself to the earth, you're connecting it to yourself, and you're setting that foundation for you.
yes, exactly. Because it kind of was like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm mad at myself, like because it's it was so it was so, I don't know, 16 years old energy, you know what I mean? Like, and I can recognize that. Like I have enough self-awareness going like this, this is
I
silly.
think we can get like that sometimes. It's okay to be a little girly and feel like I miss you and I want you here, and because we do. You get attached, not necessarily energetically like plugged in attached, but you get heart based attached, and having them in your field, having them present, and having that physical body. It's nice.
It is
I feel
nice.
that I know where you're at because my husband's gone all week, and when he comes home on the weekend and he has to leave Monday mornings, I'm like, no, where are you going? Especially if it's been a really good weekend,
Yeah.
when you're just like totally into each other and then he has to go. It's like, oh, or if I have to work on the weekends and so I don't get that time with him because he's home and I'm at work. Yeah, I totally hear you on that. That's why I'm here now.
Yeah. Like
You gotta make the time when you can.
yeah. Right. And so it's like I love seeing these love relationships and how
Hmm.
they can exemplify what you need to work on within yourself. Right. So it is that finding the foundation in myself, finding my root chakra energy, understanding my energy and how to move that energy through while also supporting the relationship. Right. And it's seeing how that energy rises up within me and going, am I projecting? Like, am I projecting my energy? It's like in a pretense, or um, am I doing it unconsciously, projecting my energy? And it's kind of like, where are those energetic attachments that feel clingy instead of supportive,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I
And
hear you.
while you move that, and like if you're in this firm foundational place of going, I am who I am, I love who I am, I know who I am, and I can fortify who I am by this vertical energy experience, right? Moving that energy from the soil all the way up to crown. Like this is that root to the cosmos. Like our signature on every single email is from root to the cosmos. And I find that so interesting because we had that before I started teaching Tantra, like it's always been there. Like when I teach even Reiki classes, I'm like, we're going to move it from the earth up, even though the traditional way is from crown down, right? And so it's really interesting to kind of watch those things of how they have come in and going, okay, so if we're moving energy up and through, where does it go once it hits your crown chakra? What happens then? Right? It's like this, well, if it's coming up and out and fortifying our electromagnetic field, right? If it's coming all the way
Hmm.
up and shooting out your crown, it's going to come out into your auric field and really strengthen that energy bubble, your auric field, and come all the way back down to root and resupply, right? And
Yeah, the cycle of the energy coming up and out and yeah,
yeah,
coming up and out and coming back up through the whole system. Yes.
so it's that toroidal flow.
Yes.
And so what happens then when you're in your energetic toroidal flow, where there isn't a lot of it feels like, think about energetic cords and how they come from one chakra to another person's chakra, right? Whether that is someone's plugged into my solar plexus and energetically stealing my energy, or that it's my heart chakra to someone else's heart chakra. Then it feels really good. It's coming from heart to heart, but those are this energetic attachments in a way, whether they're like, if we take away the good or the bad, because I think is a lot. It's kind of like creating your web from your horizontally, right? Instead of vertically. But what
Mm-hmm.
if we were fortifying ourselves through this vertical way where it then nourishes our auric field, our electromagnetic field, and someone else comes in your field who is doing the same, then it's like both people are rooted and grounded in their own, I know who I am. I love who I
Mm-hmm.
am. I'm fortifying who I am. I'm nourishing who I am. And then when those energies come together, you can feel that energy loop rather than it horizontally chakra to chakra. And so it's not necessarily an attachment. It feels like it's a supportive nourishing of your energetic body. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it totally does. Yeah, it's kind of like you're each in your own sacred hoop, and what's happening is you're just replenishing your own energy. And if you're able to do it independently and they're doing it independently, and then you merge together, you get to come together and share energy without that attachment. Because then when you separate, he's taking his energy and you're taking yours, or whoever, you know. And so, but you're independently able to nourish your own self instead of being like plugged in, like, I need you so I can survive
Right.
and I can feel good and I can feel whole and all of that. And it's really about coming back to self and saying, yes, it's nice to have you, but at the same time, I can do this for me as well.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
that was my big aha moment, and it just aligns with everything that I'm studying, that I'm teaching, that I'm really ready to understand in it. And it was a big, I think everything happened the way it happened over the last week so that I could get this message, right? Like I needed
Mhm.
to drop back into that inner teen who's like, but I miss you. Why aren't you here? Energy, right? And then going, oh, that's really sweet. I can love on that part of myself too. It's kind of like recognizing once again all of your parts, all of your archetypes, all of your inner child phases, like all of those things are part of who you are. And what is it trying to show you? Right?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just visualizing like you as a teenager on the phone playing with the long cord,
Yeah, right. Well, and
talking, you know, how it used to be when you just sit and talk on the phone for hours with your boyfriend or whatever.
I miss
Yeah.
that. Yeah, totally. That was totally,
Yeah, I kind of was playing with that old cord too.
yeah. Where you sit on the kitchen floor and you're like, don't
Yeah.
listen, I'm on my phone with a boyfriend. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had a sweet high school. It was
So
good.
now that you have all of this awareness, now that you have this awareness, what are you doing with it? Like, what is today looking like now that you are in your own energy?
Well, I think part of it is like I really am driven to do daily practices to move that energy up and through. Whether it's just a microcosmic orbit or doing my own yoga practice or whatever that practice is like rooting in, grounding in, and then moving the energy up. And I think for me, so much of it is breath work. Like I love, love, love the breath work exercises that really support you having this slow awareness of where your energy is through each of the chakras through the breath, right? And so
Hmm.
a lot of these practices I'm going to be including in my upcoming 5-week Tantra masterclass for women called She Who Rises. And it's about awakening that awareness and that Kundalini rising energy within ourselves. Like that actually is our week 1 class, right? And so every class is going to have a lesson and a somatic practice so that hopefully you learn these somatic practices and then you bring them into your everyday life. And so I just enjoy the practice. Every time I step into it, I'm like, I want to be doing this every day. I want to be doing this every day. I want to be doing this every day. And I recently did a pretty extensive future envisioning exercise. And in that future envisioning exercise, I could see myself in my practice every day. You know, it's kind of like yogis that are like, okay, I'm going to get on my mat today. Okay, I'm getting on my mat today. Even if it's for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, getting on that mat of like sitting before my altar space. My altar space has got a lot of goddesses on it. She's just very present in my world, and I'm just sitting and I'm doing my practice. And there's one practice that really honors and supports all of what we're speaking to. And as my one of my mentors called it, she called it Sufi's grind, and it's where you energetically spiral your energy downward first into the center, the heart of Mother Gaia. And you really exhale and release down into the earth space where you're really letting everything go that doesn't serve you. And she's going to compost it for you because that's what she does. Earth composts
Mhm.
any releases. And then she alchemizes it and sends you back up blessings. So then you're inhaling that energy up and in into your womb space and really feeling your physical, emotional, and energy bodies being nourished by this blessing from her. And as you breathe that up and in, and then you begin to spiral that energy all the way up and through all of your chakras so that you have this breath movement sounding exercise to really feel what's going on in each of your chakras. So there's a lot of somatic presence there. Like I'm understanding where my body and where my energy is through each of these chakras. And it's so good. And it doesn't have to take very long. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 20 minutes, it can be an hour. Depends on how deep you want to go. But it's once again, it's like falling on that lower world, earth energy, root chakra, down deep into the earth and anchoring into that energy and then fortifying all the way through.
No, that sounds great. It's also a great reminder to like to for people to hear that you can literally sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I think a lot of people get hung up on the idea that you have to do it for an hour. And it's like, no, even if you give yourself a few minutes every day, it adds up. And then you can add more. You can just keep adding time to it. But it's a great reminder too, and to be able to shift and move energy in that way, because it's like, yeah, the spiraling of going down and then bringing that energy back up.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Well, and
It's like
that's
an intense way of working through it.
exactly. And I think that recognizing like my energy was off yesterday, like my energy has been off for a few days, and I'm like, okay, take this time. Like I'm not going to fall asleep right away. I don't want to spend half the night awake like I did the night before. What do I need to do for myself to recognize where my I am energetically and support myself in practices that I know, right? Like I could have done a yoni yoga practice. I could have done a breath work practice. I could have done a lot of things. It's like having these tools in your toolbox. And what felt most alive in me was let's do a journey. Let's go down. I knew I needed to bring my energy down. And I also love going to the lower world because it's like there, it's so symbolic. Everything that happens feels like a
Yeah.
metaphor, right? And so it's because I wasn't in a place that I could really I didn't want to hear from a guy that was going to speak to me clearly. Like I knew that I could have been making that up in my mind because of where my energy was. I'm like, okay, I got to go down. And I've never had my power animal like step on me, like push me through the floor. And that just felt so real. It feels so intensely real when you're in some of this journey work where it's like, okay, why are they doing that? How are they doing?
Mhm.
What does this mean? Because they were pushing on my chest, right at my heart. Like, you need to bring
Yeah.
this energy down.
Yeah, that, journey work is so important for us to do because it just takes us to another layer, another level in life of understanding consciously, like, what are we doing? Yes, we have to go and interpret it and have, you know, recognize the symbology of what it is. But me too, I'm like you. I like to go down to the lower world. That's like my go-to. Here and there to the upper, but I like to go and to see the symbology and how it all responds to what my intention is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it reminded me of a client that I had many years ago, and she was having I don't remember the exact circumstances, but I remember seeing her energetically where she had all of these energetic attachments out into her friendships, out into her husband, into all of her groups, and she was getting her nourishment, like she was pulling in their energy to make her feel loved, supported, all these things by pulling in on their energy, right? She was
Mhm.
instead of getting it from the earth. And so in her energy field, it very much looked like you're siphoning people's energy to make yourself feel better. And how often do we do
Yeah,
through our energetic cords? We don't even know we're doing it half the time, right? And to the other person, that doesn't
yeah.
feel good, right? And so, like, it was this recognition of, like, oh my gosh, if this is what I'm doing to my boyfriend, that doesn't feel good. Like me sucking and pulling on his energy, right? And so it's kind of like
Hmm.
recognizing, even then, this was probably, I don't know, over 5 years ago, where I saw this client energetically going, she needs to root down and get her energy from the earth, because the earth energy is absolutely abundant. Like she is ready to nourish, to support, to alchemize all of it to help you stand in your strength. Right. Like I just can't, I keep going back to that message, but it's so true. It's so true for me. It is my capital T truth that, like,
It
the earth
is.
is here to support us. Well, it's kind of
Is that the physical parts that can start happening if we aren't taking care of um our own root system and everything. So I have a client right now, she's going through what is that? Prolapse, like her uterus is
yeah.
like collapsing, you know? Yeah, and so she came to me for a session, and this is a little different, but when we're talking about cords and stuff, I was able to energetically put it back in and tie a cord to it and pull that cord up so it would get pulled back into her body. And so I told her for the next few days, I said, just keep yanking, like pulling on that cord so it will pull it back in. And she said that she had like 2 or 3 days of full like recovery, like there was nothing. And then, of course, gravity and stuff, it's going to start coming back out. And then we did another session. So right now she's still like she's like good, but she's getting ready for surgery. And so the message is coming forward is because she wasn't able to fulfill her own desires, her own needs, her own like self-care, love, sexual desires, all of it. And now that part of her body is being removed because she didn't care for the things that she needed to in herself because she was externally giving it to everyone else. And then when now it's her time and she's like, it's all about me, it literally lined up for her as a big like awareness in her life. And now she's like, yeah, that's why that's coming out because she's changing her mindset, her emotions and feelings about herself. And now that part of her is coming out and but energetically, she's been pulling it back in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, if we work on the energy, the body will respond. And
Yep.
also don't ignore the physical stuff. Like if you need surgery, get the surgery, right? Like I'm a very much a person who is recognize we have a need for both. And oftentimes what causes the physicality of the circumstances have taken years and years to combine to create this physical ailment. And it may take a long time, and it doesn't always have to, but sometimes it takes a while to energetically unwind all of that. So even if she has a surgery, she still has the emotional work to do, because
Yes.
even with hysterectomies, I see this all the time. It's like this area of your body, with or without the organ, still needs to be loved on, still needs to be honored, still needs to be in their co-creatrix energy of, if I am standing here as a woman, my job is to create, right? And so in
Mm-hmm.
this creatrix energy, what is it that I'm called to create? Right. And I
Yeah.
feel like that mindset, that shift, oftentimes for women is an aha moment of, I was born with this power, whether I used it to create humans or not. what am I creating in my life? Whether it's a homemade dish that you're cooking, or that you have a project, a course, or something that you're ready to facilitate, to provide for your community, like that all takes this creation energy. And I also notice like which part of your phase of life are you in as a woman? Whether you're the maiden with this kind of like explosive creative energy that really wants to make new babies and humans versus menopause, right? Like menopause feels like all of
Yeah.
that heat, all of that anger, all of that rage that arises in menopause is there for reason and purpose. And how are we moving that through? Would you have the symptoms that women talk about all the time if that energy line was clear? If you were moving from your root to your crown, energetically speaking, in a clear pathway for that energy to move, would there be that symptomatics that women talk about menopause with such struggle,
Yeah.
right?
No, I agree with that. And I can see that because there's a lot of women, I haven't actually started menopause yet. And so, but I have so many people around me and they talk about all their symptoms. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. And so I am working on myself now to be able to energetically work with menopause when that shows up for me so that I don't have all the hot flashes and all the issues that I hear about because I don't want to experience that. There's no need for it. So I'm working with myself now in preparation for whenever it shows up.
Yeah, and so that's it. It's like, regardless of where you are age-wise, as women,
Mhm.
are we moving the energy? Are we in flow with the energy to move and that energy through our chakras, through our inner flute, whatever you want to call it, to allow that energy to rise quickly, to rise with intention, right? And so
Yep.
it's like when we go through the different phases of life, that's going to support us through whatever physical stage we're in, whether it's I'm pregnant, whether it's I'm premenopausal, whether it's postmenopausal, like wherever you're at, doing these exercises allows your feminine energy centers to feel nourished and fortified, right? It's not
Hmm.
meant to be stagnant, right? And I think that's so much of our patriarchal men's world is like stay firm, stay stagnant, stay on the path, be linear, like be this, right? And it's like, what if we danced? What if we sang? What if we flowed? What if we moved? What if we moved our hips and shimmied every day? You know, like
Yeah, because as women and we're moving and flowing with the sacral and everything, where that is the feminine energy that we are working with. And so we can't, as women, we're not supposed to be stagnant and like we are supposed to flow and move, but we have gotten into this space within ourselves and society that to be very masculine. So I think for a lot of women, because we show up very masculine, work and everything that we got going on, it's hard sometimes for a lot of women to feel into their feminine energy, to feel into the flow and the movement that they can do and naturally do to shift and move that energy.
well, and I
So
think
we need to do it more.
we need more, and I think men need to join us. You know,
Yes, men can absolutely join.
like, okay, for my 5 week masterclass, She Who Rises, it really is for women who I like, women who identify as women. And what if men were dancing? What if they were singing? What if they were moving their hips? Like, we have such an overemphasis from society to be a certain independent, productive, da 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 da. And what if we what if there was space for us to really find our flow, both as an individual and as a couple? This is why I think dancing, couples dancing can be so romantic and powerful and connective, is because you're moving that energy into a space of combined energy fields, right? And but it's done through movement. This is why sex is so sexy, right? It's through movement. It's I'm combining my energy with my partner and able to breathe, move, sound with them, right? And that's
Yeah,
where,
because you become one. It's the
yeah,
unity, it's the connection, that sacredness between the two that's able to show up in that moment.
right,
And to be fully open and to embrace it and not have like, embarrassing whatever. But it's like, no, it's feeling truly connected with your partner.
right. And I think that's what is so amazing to recognize what the possibilities are and what kind of partnership are you in and where is the trust and how do you start within yourself of going, how do I trust me? How do I know me? What am I willing to move my energy forward? How can I be vulnerable? Do I trust myself first? Right? It always comes
Hmm.
back to the self first. Like even when I was teaching the intro to Tantra masterclass with my partner, it always is like, how are you doing this for you? Then partnership. Partnership is amazing, but how are you doing this for you first? Because if it is just this energetic attachment, clinginess, it's not going to feel the same. How we move our energy from root to crown every time within our own self, knowing how to move the energy within ourself, then with partner, it's going to feel amazing. That's where the sex magic comes in. That's where the manifestation and creation and visions and erotic shamanism shows up, right?
Yeah,
But that you can't get to that sacred union if you're not both working on yourself first,
yeah.
right?
And that makes a lot of sense, especially if we have listeners that are having stagnant sexual relationships with their partner, or they're not connecting, they're not understanding where the connection is. If you're not being able to energetically connect within your sacral, within your root, within your sexual, being yourself, there might be some issues in your relationship, in your throat chakra, your heart, your third eye, in other areas of yourself that you're not able to communicate. So if you're not communicating clearly with each other on all levels of life, how are you able to then transition into the bedroom if you're in an argument for most of the day and then it's like, oh, okay, now it's time to get together, and it's like, it becomes crunchy. It doesn't feel good, or if you're judging your partner, and so then you're supposed to want to be with them, or vice versa, right? So it's really looking at, where are you showing up energetically with your partner? And then is that also a mirror to yourself? Because when we come back to self, our partner reflects a lot of our own image, our own self. And so if we're angry with them, what are we angry with ourselves about? Right. So it's looking at those mirrors, it's looking at the connection between the two, and where is the energy showing up for you?
Right. Which is one of the reasons why I created She Who Rises, because I've had so many women who are like, I can't even do this in a co-gendered space. Like, I don't feel safe talking about these things. I don't know how comfortable I would be if I needed to share and trust that I'm going to be held in the space if there were men present, because so many women have sexual trauma, so many women have sexual assault, and so it's like I wanted to create a space for you to return to yourself and
Mhm.
have the self-awareness of, if I looked within, what is my desire? What is my inner feminine or my masculine energy? Because we have both. And what do they need to mature? And so we're going to go through 5 weeks of lessons and somatic practices and discussions, and we'll have some homework, which I called soul assignments, through each week. And the first week really is having that awakening awareness of the Kundalini energy. Like, how does it flow within ourselves? And the second week, we're going to be going into the sacred feminine and the masculine within, really understanding, how do we cultivate the balance within ourselves? How do we learn how to trust ourselves? How do we feel safe within ourselves alone? Because oftentimes I also see like women who be like, oh, I would never do this practice without an accountability partner, like, and someone to
Mhm.
show up and be like, well, did you do the thing? How was it? Like, if they didn't have that prompt, they weren't going to do the practice. Like that's why people come to my like weekly feminine activation classes, because they're not doing it at home. So it's like, come to do this so that you can learn to trust yourself as a safe place. And I think that's foundational. If we can't trust ourselves as a safe place, how could we possibly with a partner, right?
Yeah. Because you got to know your body, know yourself, and what turns you on, what turns you off. You got to know all those things before you get into bed, because otherwise, it's like being a fish out of water sometimes, you know? So it's like get to know your own body first, understand what's going on. And, there are a lot of women that, one, don't know their own body, don't know how to have an orgasm, are way too much in their head and don't know how to feel all the feelings to be able to have an orgasm. Because if you're all up here and you need to be feeling all down there, it doesn't work. It's
So
a total contrast.
that's what brings us to week 3 of the masterclass is on sacred sexuality and reclaiming pleasure. Like, how do we have an open educational discussion on the female anatomy and really understanding our orgasmic potential and really understanding and identifying all of those limiting beliefs that says, no, that's not me. I can't have that. I can't be that. I'm too this. I'm not enough that, whatever those are that shows up because that's what you're talking about. Like when we get stuck in our head about how do I feel about myself? What am I projecting about the way I look, the way I feel? Am I enough? Am I showing up like the porn star? Like, oh, and how do I feel about that? Like all of those things that are getting in the way of just being fully present in the physicality and the feeling of what you're going through, which then leads us, like we have to understand that part first, but then it's going to lead us into week 4, which is going to be self-pleasure as ritual and devotion. And right
Hmm,
there, I think
nice.
it was many, many years ago that I was in midwifery training. I was 20 years old and had never really explored my own body, right? Because I grew up Catholic and I wanted to be a nun. Like I was seriously into it, right? And here I am in midwifery school. And one of the first homework assignments we were given was for a month, one full menstrual cycle moon cycle to chart where your cervix was, like where was it pointed, how did it feel, marking what your emotions were, noticing what your mucus was, like all of these things about really getting an intimate relationship with your own yoni, all of the parts, right? When I say yoni, it's like that sacred women's inner temple of your vulva, of your vagina, of your uterus, of all of your womanhood, right? And in that my first homework assignment was like, oh my God, I have to do what now? Right. And it's because it's like, once again, they knew you have to know yourself. Because if I didn't understand who I was and my own womanhood through my own monthly cycle, how could I possibly support a woman who is entering into a pregnancy and feeling into their cervix and what was normal in pregnancy, right? I had to be able to come to myself first. That's that, like, it was a root chakra and sacral chakra, like foundational lesson of going, and it had nothing to do with self-pleasure, right? It was just recognizing where your body's at. And so in this class, we're gonna bring it up a notch of really recognizing what it is our bodies want to explore. How do we want to feel? And really having some educational pieces of why our yonis react the way they do if you've had sexual traumas and those types of things, and what are some actual tools that can support the healing process if your yoni has stored energetically that trauma in that space. And that's why it's painful. That's why you have like landmines on your body of going, I don't want to be touched there. I don't want to feel that, right? We need to understand ourselves and look at those places and spaces to really witness what our full potential could be if we loved on those parts too. And how does that look like, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's all juicy stuff. And I'm sure there's some women that are like, oh my gosh, I could never do that, like what you're talking about, but you can. I know there's a lot of women that have never even looked at themselves down there, and I always think, how have you been alive for 30, 40 years, 50 years and never seen it? But, there is. And so this is a great invitation for women to come and sit in a sacred space and be able to understand the anatomy of their body, but then actually how can you work with it to bring in pleasure and to connect with yourself on a deeper level? Because
Right.
that's really what it's about, is getting into that space within ourselves that's very feminine and very loving. And yeah.
Yeah. It's there's this tantra practice called yoni gazing. And it's where for you yourself, you have a mirror and you just stare at yourself and honor yourself. Like, how can we ever imagine our partner coming to us in an honoring way if we can't even do that for ourselves? Right.
Yeah.
So you won't be surprised if that becomes one of the soul assignments or homework assignments, right? Like this is so once again, it's like we're not doing that in class. It's not like here we are in Zoom. Everyone get out your mirrors. We're doing this together.
Oh,
Like,
that's funny.
right? We're not doing that. We're doing all of those intimate practices with yourself are going to be your soul assignments. It's going to be like, come learn, get curious, have the conversation, do another practice that isn't going to put you in that vulnerable state. It's going to be still vulnerable to breathe all together or something like that. But the actual intimate practices is going to be with yourself when and carving out time to do that, making yourself a priority, knowing that you have a group of women who are all going to be working on that and having a group community chat room just for your class to go, wow, I discovered this. Wow, I felt that. And really being supported and going, I did the thing and it felt really good, or it didn't feel good. And I discovered this about myself. You know, what reveals when we take the time to really deep dive into the way we are, right? And that brings us to the week 5, which is the integration period of really allowing the sound and vocalization practice to circulate and awaken that Kundalini rising energy above. So we'll do that practice together and really spend some time on journaling and reflecting and opening it up into Q&A to really bring the whole practice, the 5-week experience all the way through.
Love it. Yes,
So juicy.
it does. It sounds like a great, great class to be able to take, like I said, and so many women will benefit from it
Yeah.
because the stigma of sex and self-awareness around sex, around your body, that is so strong in society. And so, yeah, women don't feel like, most women, I think, don't feel like they can show up in their most like sexy self and to even, I think a lot of wives or women aren't able to even approach their men without feeling like they need to be approached first.
Right.
It's okay to say that we are also sexual beings, that we have needs, that we get horny, we want all of this too. It's okay to say that. And
Yeah.
it's okay to show up like that and
Right.
not feel like you got to shy away because what if somebody thinks something wrong about you?
Right. And so this is why, like, creating the sacred container of this 5-week masterclass, it's really about exploring what your desires are, what your fears
Mhm.
are, what your boundaries are, because oftentimes you don't know them. We don't, oftentimes I feel like women come to a place where it's like, oh, and that didn't feel good there. And now let's create a boundary because something happened to me that I didn't like. Right. And so it's like, how do we communicate that? How do we communicate our fears? How do we communicate what our desires are? And doing that for yourself first, right?
Mhm.
I think this once again comes back to, am I rooted, am I grounded in who I am? And how do I breathe that energy up and through my entirety of my chakras, right? How do I understand who I am as first and foremost? And then can I share it with another?
The other end of the spectrum is the overly sex, the overdrive of for women. And I think, because that can also have its own issues when you are overly sexed, overly like seeking all the time. I mean, there's never satisfaction and there's never like contentment, so bringing that into balance too, because there's a lot of women that have had sexual trauma. And what I find is that you either are really undersexed, timid, and shy, or you're overly sexed and seeking it from multiple partners all the time, don't have control, with your own sexual needs and desires. And so, yeah, bringing it all into balance is that's great.
Right. And it's kind of like, why does the hypersexualized woman continuously seek, right? There's
Hmm.
something in herself that needs
Yeah.
explored. And she's seeking in partnerships to be fed in some way instead of finding it within herself first,
Hmm.
right? And so, yeah, I just
I
feel
think that goes back to your week one, right? Is being able to know you,
right.
connecting with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you just have these, it feels like cheap. It's almost like if you just ate fast food all the time, right? You're always starving for something that's going to feel good, but all that's available is freaking fast food, right?
Hmm.
That's what that energy feels like to me. And it's like this quick fix, but you're hungry immediately afterwards because it didn't nourish you, right? Because
Yeah.
it's reaching outward. It's once again, it's that energy that's horizontal instead of vertical.
Yes.
Mhm. And so we
Yeah.
get to come
That's
to
it.
our vertical energy of going, I can fulfill myself. I can nourish myself. I have all of the tools needed to understand how this works so that even if I'm in a sexual relationship or encounter with a partner, they're doing their thing. And guess what? I can be doing these practices to let it be fulfilling for me, to nourish me regardless of where their energy is at. Like, yes, it's ideally done in a sacred way where you're on the same page, but you can learn how to do this for yourself to nourish your partnerships as well. And so that's there's so much beautiful understanding and juiciness of all of this, of how can you understand you? How can you move the energy for you? How can you love you? And then it supports in the partnership. And with that, I just want to invite everyone to, if you're a lady out there, if you'd like to join us for She Who Rises, our 5-week tantric journey into feminine awakening. We're going to be doing Tuesday evenings. I'll post the link in the show notes. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Really looking forward to supporting you through this. And know that if you are a man listening, watching, we'll have our intro to Tantra 5-week masterclass, a co-gendered space starting again March 1st. Yay!
Yay. No, it sounds fun. I can see a lot of laughter, a lot of, like, oh my gosh. You want to talk about like working with your inner teen and young woman. Yes. No, I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be so good.
It
Thanks so much,
is.
everyone, for tuning in. Know that Chantel is starting her Conscious Grievers group the second and fourth Monday of the month. That's coming up right around the corner. And so is our The Art of Holding Space, our 6-week intensive facilitator training starting January 18th. So if you're interested in those opportunities, I'll post those links in the show notes as well. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to support you, rising from root to the cosmos.